we're going to try and keep a bit of a theme going. So if you have your smartphone handy, or if you're wanting to find out a little bit more about VoiceOver or Talkback, here's a couple of the basic tips. JP and Daniel, I think you're going to cover the Talkback in a second, but JP first, maybe you can let us know about the iPhone equivalent.
Sure.
First.
Of course I will, Jude. So that's right. So over the next few shows, we thought it'd be a good idea to cover some of the different VoiceOver gestures that we can use on the iPhone and on the iPad. So over the next few weeks, what we'll be doing is covering different gestures you can use to, for example, switch between like running applications that you have on your iPhone or iPad and close them, turn on the screen curtain to increase your privacy, and then at a later stage, how to use the rotor as well, which could be, I'm sure a lot of our listeners know, a really handy way to adjust the settings like for your speech rate and your volume. But this week, though, what we're going to do is keep it simple and start off with going through a few more basic gestures that you can use for navigating screen content using VoiceOver. And there's two ways that we can do this. So first of all, with VoiceOver enabled, what we can do is we can move between different items on the screen, such as apps or menu items, by swiping right or left with one finger on the screen. So swiping right will move to the next item, while swiping left will move to the previous one. The the gesture itself, it's a bit like when you're trying to flick a bit of dust or a hair off the screen. Actually, one good analogy that I heard there is that it's a bit like you're trying to gently flick away an eyelash from a child's face. So that was an interesting one. That's one way. The other way is that we can navigate the screen content with VoiceOver using Explore by Touch. So this is where VoiceOver will read out everything that your finger passes over on the screen, and the last item that your finger touches will become the item which is focused on with VoiceOver. So if, for example, you have focused on an app on your home screen with VoiceOver using either the swiping method that I mentioned a moment ago, left or right, or Explore by Touch, we can then open up the app using a one-finger double tap, and that's anywhere on the screen. It doesn't have to be over the app or the menu item or whatever it is that it's focused on. Anywhere on the screen, double tap, and it'll open up. There's just one last tip for VoiceOver this week. It's also worth mentioning that we can practice these different VoiceOver gestures, which I mentioned a moment ago, by turning on what's called, and all VoiceOver gestures, by turning on what's called the gesture help. And we can do this by double tapping the screen with 4 fingers. So in gesture help, if, for example, we swipe to the right, we'll be given a description of what that gesture does. In that case, it'll be move to next item, swipe to the left, move to previous item, and so forth. So that's how it will work. Gesture help can also be turned off then with a 4-finger double tap on the screen. So that's definitely a good way we can practice and familiarize ourselves with the different VoiceOver gestures on the iPhone and on the iPad.
Very good. And how does that work for Android, Daniel? Are there similar sort of gestures on that?
Yeah, again, JP mentioned there, the simple gestures left to right, to move through the items on the screen, and additionally, where you navigate around with one finger, according as you come across the different icons or sections of text or whatever, it will call those out to you as well. So very, very similar. Now, I haven't been able to find one for gesture help yet. I've been looking for one. That's not to say there's not one there, but I haven't come across that yet. Maybe Sean, do you know anything?
They normally have the tutorial in the Talkback settings that you can, even if you've already went through the tutorial, you can normally go back in and turn it on, and it's not quite the same, but it'll guide you through the main features of how to navigate.
Screen off. Ringer vibrate.
We're even hearing a demo.
Yeah.
Very good. So that's really useful just to have those basics. And obviously, if you're already a VoiceOver or a Talkback user, some of these might sound very basic to you, but we'll be building on this week after week. We'll go through different gestures that will help you to build up your knowledge of how to use those features on the phone. So that's brilliant. Thanks, guys, for the quick tips this week.